Tamal, let me begin with the key question of how these illegal loan apps were allowed to flourish for so long.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, it was nobody's baby. So, in fact, if you remember recently, Reserve Bank of India governor in a public forum, it said that it's the job of the police to, to keep a vigil on them. It's not Reserve Bank of India. And, it's on my table. There's a working group which Reserve Bank of India constituted to look into the digital lending space. November 2021, it submitted its report, and it said that at the, there were about 1,100 Indian loan apps are there, and out of which 600 are illegal loan apps. It's the fact is pretty old. It's between January 2021 and February 28, 2021. During that, they investigated. So it's almost more than a 1.5 year old. By that time, it's thousands of illegal apps up there. Many of the NBFCs are renting out their license to this kind of apps, and they are, as you rightly said, they are harassing. They are harassing customers for loan repayment. They are charging very high loan rates, and they have also access to every data the customers have. In fact, on behalf of the customers, they can also operate their emails. So that's the kind of situation. I think Finance Ministry was waiting for Reserve Bank of India to come out with the guidelines on digital lending, which RBI did on September 2nd. And if you look at those guidelines, it spoke about it has actually, I would say, legitimized digital lending. And it has created named a new entity called lending service providers, apart from the digital lending apps. But and it has become very strict. In fact, those lending apps and the digital lending providers would be only an intermediary. It has to be between a customer and a regulated entity, which is a bank and NBFCs. Everything has to be transparent. They can't hide anymore. They can't exploit anymore. But this particular guidelines are silent about the illegal apps, and now government has come up, Finance Ministry has come up on them, and it's talking about a whitelist. It's nothing but an online registry for legal entities, so the customers would know who are they dealing with. I think it's the right move. And if you allow me just 1 minute, I think beyond this also we need a coordinated effort between the states, between investigative agencies. Not only the Department of Company Affairs and Reserve Bank of India can do that. I think it's at a multi-level we need to attack them, because the money lending is a state subject. So we need to involve the state governments. We need to involve the investigative agencies such as ED. We need to involve, of course, Reserve Bank of India and police. So apart from having an online registry for legal entities, which is a so-called whitelist the Finance Minister spoke about, we also need to have coordinated effort among multi-level agencies to crack down on them, to stop this illegal practices.
So there seems to be a multi-pronged effort to crack down on apps, on these illegal loan apps, but it seems to be scattered as well, Mr. Gandhi, because on the one hand you have, for example, an ED trying to track companies which are facilitating these loan apps. So then they go and conduct some raids on some crypto company, etc. Mr. Gandhi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, please.
So the point I was making is that the effort seems to be quite uncoordinated. So you have ED conducting some raids on some crypto company. A few days ago, you had, the Andhra Chief Minister ordering a probe because a couple both killed themselves, and they had taken loans from different apps. They have children. They were pressurized. They were threatened that their photos would be leaked on social media, and they committed suicide. So he's ordered his own probe. Here you have the finance minister now meeting. But there seems to be the lack of a concerted effort. And do you think that this whitelist idea is going to be good enough?
I don't agree with the proposition that you mentioned, that there is no concerted effort or coordinated effort. Exactly that is what is being proposed now, in the sense that a regulator typically will not have enforcement powers on other than the regulated entities. That's a standard structure. Any regulation will apply to the regulated entities. So some unregulated entity, when they are doing some offense, then it becomes an economic offense, then it becomes a part and parcel of the state enforcement agencies. And that's the way it has always been functioning, and that's the way it should be going ahead also. So now this current what Finance Minister has announced today, that will definitely work, number one, because the entire country will know what is the approved digital lending apps. Banks or the loan service providers related that. When the bank prepares that list, then anyone get a clear idea whether particular app which he or she is trying to use, whether it is approved one or not. That's the first point. So that enablement has been made now, or will be made now, based on this announcement. So to that extent, the unapproved app, if somebody is coming across, then one should have one's own care not using that. So that is the first one. Second, to prevent the unregulated apps being made available to the public, that's where MeitY's role comes into the picture, as per today's announcement, that they will see to it that the apps will not be hosting, facilitating downloading of those apps. So that is a second major step, which is definitely will be workable. Third, one risk will always remain. Technologies are ultimately technology is technology. So when something happening beyond borders, because today the web is World Wide Web, so anybody can access anywhere, anything. So through that mechanism, if people are led to make good use of some unapproved apps which are not hosted in Indian through Indian app stores, so to say, then that risk is definitely there. That we have to find by different ways of dealing with that. That is where the third and fourth steps, which have been announced by the finance minister, that typically these people, because they are all working across borders, there has to be some entity within India which must be facilitating them. That is where this ghost NBFCs or any other type of that control on mule type of entities, that has also been brought on. So there's a coordinated effect, definitely. Regulator is there, state enforcement agency is there, MeitY is there, then MCA. So definitely it is a coordinated effort.
I get your point that it is a coordinated effort. I think what Tamal was pointing to is the lack of participation of states. But Tamal, if you're going to cut it out at the source, where you have a whitelist that the RBI prepares and no one else is allowed on an app store, will that be good enough? You're not even letting then illegal apps in that sense exist.
Yeah, again, I'll give you one number. I spoke about out of 1,100 apps from 81 app stores, 600 was illegal, so more than 50%. That was 1.5-year-old data. Now it's gone much more. And between January 2020 and March 2021, there had been 2,562 complaints. I'm not talking about the suicides which have been reported. Even normal complaints, state-wise, the numbers are there. Majority of them are again related to the illegal apps. So that's a menace, and only list, I think, will not be able to will not serve the purpose, because we need the education also. Now, the rural India, the so-called people, the bottom of the pyramid people, I mean, how do they access? Do they know how to access the registry of this, the white list, and who to avoid? So I think along with this, we also need to have a massive literacy drive. Reserve Bank of India has been doing that on the advertising front, on multiple front. I have seen that it has done on the ombudsman scheme in various regional languages, in all Indian regional languages. If there's any fraud and if you're not getting the right kind of treatment by the banks, you come to the ombudsman. I think a similar nationwide ad campaign by the regulator or the finance ministry also need to be done. See, it's a other side of financial literacy, is the tech literacy. We need to have that. I think so-called we are talking about financial inclusion and financial literacy. Now we need to have a digital literacy in the vast part of India. I think in Mumbai, Delhi, the metros, you and me, we know we can access what is this white list or the registry.